So you think Frieza's Universe 6 counterpart has assured safety? Well, think again. Hey folks, MasakoX here. One of the things that made the beginning of the Universe 6 tournament quite compelling was the introduction of a character. A character which resembled Frieza, but seemingly only in appearance. This person was quite curious to look at, and given that we were sort of introduced to the idea that Universe 6 probably is most likely opposite day, we had the enticing prospect of a good boy who looks like Frieza. Frieza turned good, now canon. Sure enough, on first glance, it turned out to be the case. Frost was quite the nice being, with values, as well as being recognized in his dimension as a hero amongst his peers and the people of Universe 6. However, you would soon realize that they weren't going to be doing that. It was just going to be really predictable. Frost is basically a prime candidate for the 7. Vought would lap him up. But then again, this isn't how we do things here on the MasakoX channel. We liked Frost being seen as a good guy, so why don't we just keep it that way? What if Frost was actually good? Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say that I am excited to have partnered with Manga UK to tell you about this, the Dragon Ball Super Complete Collection Collector's Edition. Now even though this is actually mainly intended for my UK and Irish audiences, everyone should really pay close attention as this release is probably one of the best ways to get into the Super series on disc, physical media, and how you pack a special edition. Inside, you get, of course, 20 discs going through episodes 1 to 131 with excellent artwork, which is a step up from the old Z-Kai box art. You also get a very cool 52-page art booklet with character concept art and more, which is actually really hard to come by, art cards, a fold-out poster, and all of this is protected for the future in a very sturdy collector's box, which can last the test of time. Do you know what? I think I'm going to add this to the backdrop of stuff over there behind me for the future. It's that good. And I don't just put any old stuff in there. And also, when you're opening the box, do be careful as some units may have very strong glue, which might make it tricky to open properly. Just letting you know. Also, you better be quick, as these collector sets are getting rarer by the day, but you can still pick them up for the moment for about £126 for 20 discs, and all this other stuff with it. I'd say it's a no-brainer. Thank you Manga UK for making this possible. Now I can rewatch Super with physical media, and I hope we do get more of this in the future. Thanks for listening. In the last part of our epic adventure, Frost had decided to, as he so often did in the main Dragon Ball Super series, cowardly do something, running away from the situation. However, this time around it wasn't because he was being deceitful or anything like that. It was down to the fact that the Thousandarian mercenary kinda liked chasing him. Frost had been inspired by a dragon team, and so took himself to the realms of Universe 7 to avoid being hit by Hit. He knew what he wanted to do and ensure his survival. He would ask Goku and Vegeta and see if they could mentor him and Cabba to get stronger. All of this in the pursuit also of personal development, and in order for them to be able to actually do what they need to do, become defenders of their own turf. Frost and Cabba's arrival on Earth was a very surprising little interlude prior to what we expect in the Goku Black arc. Not much has actually happened after the Universe 6 tournament after the abandoned results of the supposed tie of the contest. So, our Saiyans are actually sort of listening, keen to hear them out about what these newcomers have to say. Whilst Vegeta is naturally suspicious of our pale friend, despite having proved himself to be somewhat decent during the whole affair, as in he did have the poison technique but he never resorted to, nor did he wish to, Goku is completely convinced by the arrival of them and their request to train. I mean, of course he would be, it's Goku. This apparently fulfilling his long-time dream of training with Frieza. Vegeta looks to Goku and is completely bemused with this weird fantasy to train with, quite possibly, their greatest enemy. He never got that. But Goku then explains to his friend that Frieza had the most potential out of all their previous challenges. Think about it! Frieza started off with that kind of power, and he never lifted a finger beforehand. Well, maybe once. He shuffles a little bit, remembering the destruction of planet Vegeta, and how Frieza basically just did that with his finger. Vegeta looked quite sour, and so Goku continued hastily. And, look at him now! He's gotten so much stronger in just months of active training, and if Frost here is anything like Frieza, then his gains will be incredible. Then he seems like a nice guy. He slaps Frost on the back, the recipient relieved to be so quickly accepted by this prodigious fighter. Thank you, Son Goku. I won't let you down. Vegeta shrugs, accepting Goku's point of potential, but it's still something that he couldn't quite get entirely behind. Oh well, Vegeta had the Saiyan Cabba to train with. He'd call this a compromise or a distraction, depends on his mood. As you might probably expect, Goku is beginning his official sparring sessions with our protagonist. He wasn't just training the individual wholesale, he was also making him a guest at his place, and of course, without telling Chi-Chi first. Frost became a guest in his home, but initially he didn't feel like one. He felt like he was being interrogated by all concerned. The only person that sort of got on with him and didn't ask him so many questions from the start was Goku's wife. She thought he was very nice and was quite civilized, sort of like what Frieza was in our alternative What If story, What If Frieza Had a Son. You can check that out up top. I feel Frost would be just as courteous here. And that was the only positive for a while at the Son family residence, because Frost had to live through tons of suspicious and intrusive comments and questions from the two kids, Goten and Trunks, seemingly sons of Goku and Vegeta. Nearly all of the time they would be asking very inane and repetitive questions, and naturally, of course, the biggie, what's it like to be a good Frieza? Frost was trying to keep his cool, not wanting to cause problems with Goku, but he still felt very bad being asked this. He had gotten tired of being compared to Frieza. He hadn't even met the fellow. How would he know what it was like? It was kind of annoying, and many times he just wanted to tell those runts to be quiet and stop asking, really looked nettled, but he would also take a deep breath, remember where he was, remember the context of his surroundings, and pause. He knew these twerps weren't being malicious, they meant well, they were just genuinely inquisitive. They weren't trying to probe him for information for any nefarious purposes against him. Ultimately, he kept up appearance, and he was patient with their questions. Also, he didn't want to risk making Son Goku's life mate angry, but he was already off to a good start anyway, so he needn't worry. Still, he didn't have much time to think about much else at the moment, because Goku had set the pace to be pretty fast and merciless. One day, Goku asked Frost the question that he'd been longing to ask, hoping that would make the training gains even faster. He was very excited to ask this. So, can you do the gold thing? Asked Goku in a rather enthusiastic manner, but the response was not what he had expected. Instead of getting a fervent nod and an immediate demonstration, Frost seemed like he was totally baffled, utterly confused. Gold thing? I don't know what you mean. Goku elaborated. Oh, you know, the guy from my universe, Frieza. Frost rolled his eyes, again with the Frieza. Right. He was able to do it. The golden thing. He turned gold and used God Ki. It was really cool. But he hadn't thought it through though. Sort of like he did when we first fought on Namek. Maybe he can make it better, but, you know, he's dead that moment. Again. So... Frost was pretty sure he didn't want to hear the rest of the story. But not wanting to disappoint his mentor, Frost acted in a polite manner to an otherwise irksome situation. I hate to burst your bubble, Son Goku, but no. I'm afraid that I'm not familiar with that transformation. My fourth form, the one that you see before you, is the peak of my capabilities at this time in Universe 6. It's as far as I can go. I do hope that this hasn't cast doubt on my abilities. Frost looked very downbeat, thinking that the same was either going to be, at best, sad, or at worst, disgusted, wanting to kick him out of his own home. But Goku laughed. Frost was, once again, confused at this reaction. Why is my predicament funny, Son Goku? Oh boy, you have a lot to learn about here, buddy. If you put your mind to it and train, you can get that golden power in no time. You got me finding your corner. Here, try to avoid my attacks. And then, without any warning, Goku went all Super Saiyan Blue on him. At first, Frost felt that it was impossible to dodge any of these attacks. This was the power that had given Hit a run for his money. How could he possibly answer to this formidable power? And while he was still being hit pretty hard by Goku, he felt that the Saiyan was still going easy on him. But nevertheless, despite his doubt within himself, he did manage to dodge a few of the attacks. I mean, that's got to count for something, right? Well, it seems like Goku wasn't letting him win. Goku had noticed that Frost seemed pretty grim. When they had finished, he took him aside and gave him a pat on the back. Hey, don't worry. You did well, pal. It's a lot to take in at first. I remember my first time training with Whis. I thought the power I had gotten fighting Beerus would be enough to impress, but boy was I wrong. I did terribly. I couldn't get anywhere near him. Still can't really. It takes some time to notice improvements, but I believe in you, Frost. You do? Sure thing, buddy. Frost was utterly astonished. He hadn't expected Saiyans to be so nice. It was as if he was talking to Cabba, that same chirpy attitude. Nothing like Vegeta's grunt face at all. Son Goku was many things, but Frost had to admit that despite his sometimes irritating nature and unnecessarily chirpy optimism, he was a pretty encouraging mentor. Something rubbed off on him. He had succeeded in being retained by the Monkey Man. Later on, he was met by Goku's older son, Son Gohan, to do some sightseeing around the planet. Frost was surprised to not only get some good training in, but also to have a chance to witness some more of what this world had to offer. It was nice to have a little break. They also caught up with Cabba, who looked exhausted, but pretty happy. Cabba was pleased to see Frost, having not had the chance to talk since they started their training. Hey Frost, I got so much to tell you. Vegeta, he's amazing. He's shown me so many transformations that we Saiyans can do, and he said that if I really put my mind to it and I don't start slacking, I can do that too. All of this information was, without intending to, making Frost feel bad. How could he compare with all of that progression that Cabba had done? Well, Frost started reluctantly mumbling to his friend, I've not got any new forms, like yourself. But he remembered Goku's kind words, also being glad that his species were quite durable after all this training. It's been tough, like your efforts have been, I imagine. But I was told that I was making progress. Come now, try to keep your mind off your training today, you two. There's more to life than that. You need to relax every once in a while, he smirked. Frost nodded in agreement. Agreed. I can subscribe to that statement, Mr. Son Gohan. You should also subscribe to the channel, by the way. After that, Gohan showed the two of them some parks and museums around West City, Nikki Town, and he brought them some Earth snacks, with ice cream being an absolute hit with Frost. I've never... What are these? They're remarkable! Oh? You never tried ice cream before? Frost elaborated. Well, I sort of remember something like this, but it seemed that the secret of making this had perished together with our Earth when they scorched themselves. But since Lord Beerus has... Oh, there's hope after all. Gohan laughed. It's not particularly hard to make, you know. I can give you two the recipe before you leave. Frost then got a little reflective. After all he had seen, he didn't actually want to think about leaving at the moment, so he quickly changed the subject. So, Mr. Son Gohan, you're a half Saiyan, right? Gohan looked like he had conversational whiplash. That was not a very well thought out segue, but luckily Gohan didn't take offense to this and told him his story, including the fight with a creature named Cell and how he himself had semi-retired from fighting. I mean, yeah, it was fun to bond with my dad and do it when I was younger, but now I'm a father myself. I realize there's more to life than I need to think about. I want to find a good balance, but I am aware of my responsibilities as a person, other than saving the world, like building a family of my own. Frost thought that sounded nice, but right now, he couldn't quite understand as much as he would have liked to. Right now, for him, fighting was his only option for survival. That's why, in the following weeks, he tried his best to get really strong. He still wasn't much in terms of directly and convincingly attacking his mentor, but he had gotten much better at dodging at least, and avoiding Super Saiyan Blue's more intense attacks. On one hand, he thought that he was sort of cheating. Maybe he was just simply learning Goku's fighting pattern, but on the other hand, this might actually be really good training. If you think about it, if Goku can dodge hit, then him doing so to Goku a fair few times might give him a chance to counter the mercenary. He'd also learnt how to live with these people, including helping tend to their farm and giving Goku some breaks to train on his own. It was very weird for Frost to see how modestly they lived despite Chi-Chi's father being rich, as well as their track record of saving the world. Surely with the power Son Goku and his sons had, they would be absolute stars, like he was back in Universe 6. One morning, Frost decided to ask Chi-Chi about that, and he was lucky that he'd gotten on her good side for being helpful all of these weeks. She calmly explained that they genuinely quite liked the quiet life out in the sticks. There was something about living out in the middle of nowhere that was calming. It felt natural to them. It was part of who they were. It really helped them clear their minds, which led in turn to better lifestyles and better training for Goku. She reckoned that there would be too much attention if they lived close to a city or maybe in a town. You know firsthand how reckless Goku can get when training. That was true. In a weird way, Frost understood now. He learnt to appreciate that. They really were good people. A little irritating, but good. The next day, after a particularly hard day's work in the field, Goku and Goten, accompanied by Piccolo, decided to take Frost to Capsule Corp to see his friend. It had been a few days since he had last talked to Cabba, so Goku was sure that they would naturally want to catch up. However, there was soon to be a more pressing matter at hand to deal with. They were pretty shocked to discover a strange vessel around with the word Hope written on the hull. Trunks, the present one, had told them all that someone that looks just like him is inside. Goku, knowing who that might be, excitedly flies inside with Frost and the rest following. And wouldn't you know it, there is a young man that looks like an older version of Trunks. But instead of a warm welcome, he attacks Goku. Frost, not having a clue who this person is, immediately defends his mentor, but the young man then goes for him instead, thinking that this guy is Freeza. "I don't care how you got here, but I will do the same to you again!" It's only screaming from Bulma and Vegeta that makes the young man come back to his senses. I'm sorry. I took you two for someone else." Frost tried to not show that he was a bit shaken up. No problem. It's a weird way to say hello, though. "Oh, Frost? This is future Trunks. He's the guy who whomped Freezer." A chill went down Frost's spine. "I thought you were Frieza. Someone's been messing around with the timelines, and so that someone I talked about looks just like Goku." Frost felt that he might have walked into bigger trouble than he asked for. Maybe fighting him might not have been so bad after all. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? How will Frost be able to assist the Goku Black arc? Will Trunks be able to trust him more than Vegeta does? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!